Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
Introduction. Paul Samuelson's Foundations of Economic Analysis, published in 1947 and revised in 1976, stands as a monumental achievement in the formalization of economic theory. This essay undertakes a detailed examination of the arguments and assertions presented within this work, meticulously evaluating its claims section by section. The aim is not merely to summarize its content, but to engage critically with its core propositions, exploring the logical structure, the empirical support assumed, and the lasting impact of Samuelson's endeavor to establish a more rigorous mathematical foundation for economic reasoning. The analysis spans from the core principle of maximizing behavior to the comparative statics methodology applied to diverse economic models, ultimately assessing the enduring legacy and the limitations inherent in the foundational aspirations. Section 1. The general structure of economic theory and the operational significance of economic laws. Samuelson opens his treatise by establishing a framework for understanding economics as an empirical science, firmly rooted in observable behaviors. His central claim is that meaningful economic laws must be operationally significant, that is, capable of generating refutable predictions. This section proposes a methodological approach where economic theory is not solely about abstract concepts, but about deriving concrete implications from a set of postulates, subsequently tested against real-world data. Samuelson posits that economic postulates should lead to the deduction of conditions which can be refuted by empirical observations, thereby imbuing the discipline with scientific validity. This marks a departure from purely descriptive or philosophical economic analyses prevalent at the time. The strength of this claim resides in its ambition to ground economics in verifiable predictions. However, the operational significance criterion encounters challenges. Specifically, the complexities of real-world economies mean that isolating specific causal relationships for empirical testing proves difficult. Furthermore, the inherent ceteris paribus assumption, which holds other factors constant, often becomes problematic in environments where many factors are constantly in flux. Samuelson acknowledges these difficulties, emphasizing the need to carefully formulate postulates and to recognize the limitations of empirical verification. Section 2. Maximizing behavior and equilibrium. At the heart of Samuelson's approach lies the principle of maximizing behavior. He claims that many economic phenomena can be understood as the outcome of individuals or firms striving to maximize some objective function, subject to constraints. The section delves into the mathematical formulation of this principle, applying it to consumer choice, producer behavior, and other areas. Samuelson introduces the use of Lagrangian multipliers as a powerful tool for solving constrained optimization problems, and the necessary and sufficient conditions for identifying maxima and minima. His claim is bold that by framing economic decisions as optimization problems, one can derive testable hypotheses about behavior. Specifically, the conditions for utility maximization give rise to demand functions which can be analyzed, and profit maximization leads to supply functions. This approach provides a unifying framework for analyzing a wide array of economic phenomena. However, the assumption of perfect rationality inherent in maximizing behavior has been subject to extensive criticism. Behavioral economics has demonstrated that individuals often deviate systematically from the predictions of rational choice theory, exhibiting biases and heuristics that impact their decisions. Samuelson recognizes that the assumption is an idealization, but argues that it provides a useful starting point for understanding economic behavior. He anticipates the debate and suggests deviations from rationality can be incorporated into the framework, albeit with increased complexity. Nevertheless, The elegance and analytical power of the maximization principle remain central to economic modeling. Section 3. Comparative statics and the correspondence principle. Samuelson's development of comparative statics represents a crucial tool for economic analysis. He claims that by comparing different equilibrium states, it's possible to deduce meaningful predictions about the response of economic systems to changes in parameters. He introduces the correspondence principle, a methodological innovation with profound implications. This principle states that the stability conditions of an equilibrium can provide information about the qualitative properties of comparative statics results. In other words, understanding whether an equilibrium is stable offers clues about how the economic system will respond to changes in parameters. Samuelson's assertion is that the correspondence principle elevates comparative statics from a mere descriptive exercise to a predictive tool. By analyzing stability conditions, one can gain insights into the direction of change in endogenous variables without solving the entire system of equations. The correspondence principle, however, is not without its limitations. Specifically, it applies primarily to systems with unique and stable equilibria. In situations involving multiple equilibria or instability, the principle provides less guidance. Furthermore, the stability analysis itself can be technically demanding, requiring detailed knowledge of the underlying dynamics of the system. Despite these limitations, the correspondence principle remains a vital tool in the economist's toolkit, providing a bridge between stability analysis and comparative statics. Section 4. Applications to consumer behavior. Samuelson applies the principles of maximization and comparative statics to the analysis of consumer behavior. He derives the fundamental laws of demand, demonstrating how the utility maximization framework leads to testable predictions about consumer choices. His claim is that by assuming consumers maximize utility subject to a budget constraint, one can derive the familiar downward-sloping demand curve and explore the effects of changes in income and prices. The section focuses on the concepts of substitution and income effects, providing a rigorous mathematical treatment of these concepts. Samuelson demonstrates how the Slutsky equation, derived from the utility maximization framework, can be used to decompose the total effect of a price change into substitution and income effects. This allows for a deeper understanding of consumer responses to price variations. A key claim is that, under certain assumptions, the substitution effect must be negative, ensuring that the demand curve slopes downwards. The analysis of consumer behavior, while elegant and insightful, rests on strong assumptions about consumer preferences. The assumption of stable, transitive, and complete preferences is often questioned, particularly in light of behavioral economics. Furthermore, the utility maximization framework fails to fully capture the complexities of consumer decision-making, such as the influence of advertising, social norms, and psychological biases. Samuelson acknowledges these limitations, but maintains that the framework provides a valuable starting point for understanding consumer behavior and refinements can be incorporated to address specific. Section 5. Production theory and the firm. Samuelson extends his framework to the analysis of production theory and the behavior of the firm. He claims that by assuming firms maximize profits subject to technological constraints, represented by production functions, one can derive testable predictions about firm behavior. The section delves into the mathematical formulation of production functions, cost functions, and supply functions. Samuelson provides a rigorous treatment of concepts such as marginal product, returns to scale, and cost minimization. His assertion is that the profit maximization framework provides a unifying approach to understanding firm behavior, allowing economists to analyze issues such as optimal input choices, cost structures, and supply decisions. He demonstrates how the first-order conditions for profit maximization lead to the familiar rules of equating marginal cost to marginal revenue. He further explores the implications of different production technologies, such as constant returns to scale, increasing returns to scale, and decreasing returns to scale, on firm behavior and market structure. The analysis of production theory, while providing a valuable framework for understanding firm behavior, is not without its limitations. The assumption of profit maximization is often questioned, particularly in large corporations where managerial incentives may not be perfectly aligned with shareholder interests. Furthermore, the analysis often assumes perfect information and competitive markets, which may not always hold in reality. Samuelson recognizes these limitations, but argues that the profit maximization framework provides a useful benchmark for understanding firm behavior, and that deviations from this benchmark can be analyzed within the broader context of agency theory and organizational economics. Section 6. Welfare economics and the Pareto optimum. Samuelson delves into welfare economics, focusing on the concept of the Pareto optimum. He claims that under certain conditions, competitive markets will lead to a Pareto-efficient allocation of resources, where it is impossible to make any individual better off without making someone else worse off. The section explores the mathematical conditions for Pareto optimality, demonstrating how they relate to the marginal conditions for efficient production and exchange. Samuelson emphasizes that the Pareto optimum is a necessary, but not sufficient, condition for social welfare maximization. The claim is that while competitive markets may achieve efficiency, they may not necessarily lead to a desirable distribution of income or wealth. Samuelson introduces the concept of the social welfare function, which allows for the incorporation of distributional considerations into the analysis of social welfare. He demonstrates how different social welfare functions can lead to different policy prescriptions. His argument is that welfare economics provides a framework for evaluating the social desirability of alternative economic policies, taking into account both efficiency and equity considerations. The analysis of welfare economics relies on strong ethical assumptions about the desirability of Pareto optimality and the appropriate form of the social welfare function. These assumptions are often subject to debate and disagreement. Furthermore, the practical application of welfare economics is often hampered by difficulties in measuring social welfare and in making interpersonal comparisons of utility. Samuelson acknowledges these challenges, but maintains that welfare economics provides a valuable framework for thinking systematically about the social consequences of economic policies, even if precise measurement and unambiguous conclusions are often elusive. Section 7. Dynamic analysis and stability. Samuelson extends his analysis to dynamic systems, recognizing that economic phenomena evolve over time. He claims that understanding the stability properties of dynamic systems is crucial for predicting their long-run behavior. The section delves into the mathematical techniques for analyzing dynamic systems, including difference equations and differential equations. Samuelson introduces the concept of stability, defining different types of stability, such as global stability, local stability, and asymptotic stability. His assertion is that only stable systems will converge to a steady state in the long run. He emphasizes the importance of analyzing the eigenvalues of the Jacobian matrix to determine the stability of a dynamic system. He also explores the implications of different types of dynamic processes, such as cobweb models, multiplier accelerator models, and growth models, on the stability and convergence properties of the system. The analysis of dynamic systems is often technically demanding, requiring advanced mathematical skills and knowledge. Furthermore, the assumptions underlying dynamic models are often simplified and may not fully capture the complexities of real-world economic dynamics. Samuelson recognizes these limitations, but argues that the analysis of dynamic systems provides valuable insights into the long-run behavior of economic systems, and that more realistic models can be developed by incorporating additional factors and complexities. Section 8. General equilibrium theory. Samuelson tackles the complexities of general equilibrium theory attempting to establish the conditions under which a simultaneous equilibrium can exist across all markets in an economy. He claims that under certain assumptions, a general equilibrium exists and is Pareto efficient. This section deals with the mathematical formulation of general equilibrium models, including concepts such as Walras law, excess demand functions, and the existence of equilibrium prices. Samuelson's assertion is that the general equilibrium framework provides a comprehensive view of the economy, allowing economists to analyze the interdependencies between different markets and sectors. He emphasizes the importance of analyzing the stability properties of general equilibrium systems, recognizing that stability is necessary for the equilibrium to be observable in reality. He explores the conditions under which general equilibrium is guaranteed to exist, such as the assumptions of convexity, completeness, and non-satiation of preferences. The analysis of general equilibrium theory is highly abstract and mathematical, requiring strong simplifying assumptions. These assumptions, such as the presence of perfect competition, complete markets, and absence of externalities, are often unrealistic. Furthermore, the computation of general equilibrium solutions is often challenging, requiring sophisticated numerical methods. Samuelson acknowledges these challenges, but maintains that general equilibrium theory provides a valuable benchmark for understanding the functioning of the economy as a whole, and the deviations from this benchmark can be analyzed within the framework of market imperfections and government interventions. Section 9. The relationship to other disciplines and the future of economic analysis. Samuelson reflects on the relationship between economics and other disciplines, such as mathematics, statistics, and philosophy. He claims that economics can benefit from interdisciplinary approaches, but must maintain its own unique identity and focus. This section explores the role of mathematics in providing a rigorous language for economic analysis. Samuelson advocates for the use of mathematical models, but cautions against excessive formalism that obscures the underlying economic intuition. He emphasizes the importance of empirical testing and statistical validation of economic theories. He also addresses the philosophical foundations of economics, discussing issues such as positive versus normative economics, the role of value judgments, and the limitations of economic models. His assertion is that economics should strive to be both rigorous and relevant, contributing to the understanding of real-world problems and the formulation of effective policies. Samuelson recognized that the field of economics is constantly evolving, and identifies emerging areas of research, such as behavioral economics, information economics, and game theory. He encourages economists to embrace new ideas and approaches while remaining grounded in the fundamental principles of maximizing behavior, equilibrium analysis, and welfare economics. Conclusion. Paul Samuelson's Foundations of Economic Analysis represents a watershed moment in the history of economic thought. His rigorous application of mathematical methods to economic theory transformed the discipline, providing a unifying framework for understanding diverse economic phenomena. The work's enduring significance lies in its emphasis on maximizing behavior, comparative statics, and the importance of operational significance. While some of its specific claims and assumptions have been challenged by subsequent developments, particularly in behavioral economics and the understanding of complex systems, the fundamental principles, articulated by Samuelson, continue to shape the way economists approach the study of the economy. The legacy of Foundations is not merely in its specific results, but in its methodological rigor and its aspiration to establish economics as a truly scientific discipline. It remains a foundational text, challenging students and scholars to engage critically with its claims and to build upon its enduring contributions. The call for operationally significant economic laws, capable of generating testable predictions, continues to resonate in a world demanding empirical validation of economic models and policies. Samuelson's work stands as a testament to the power of formal analysis in illuminating the complexities of economic behaviour, and its influence continues to be felt across the entirety of the field.
We really appreciate you tuning in to this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.